各位尊敬的嘉宾，各位充满活力的青年朋友们，无论你是在新加坡或者是在上海哈，或者是在线上关注我们，大家下午好。欢迎来到这个通商中国青年论坛这一场非常特别的分论坛哈。我们今天的主题是赛场之外品牌化时代下的那个体育文化啊。我是李奇宏，新加坡联合早报中国新闻组的副主任，我是新加坡会场的主持人。我们还有另外一位主持人，就是这个陈永欣女士啊 ，Miss Jenny Chan， 她是这个 Lions Intelligence 旗下的World Advertising Research Center 的中国主编，她等一下会为我们介绍在上海的嘉宾。那么我们在这个高度品牌化的当代社会啊，体育已经不仅仅只是这个赛场上的那个较量啊，也是这个影响力、身份认同还有社会责任的交汇点。那么我们从这个 Singapore F1 的赛事啊，还有到这个一些中国的体育明星啊。我的时代就是姚明啊，在各位年轻的朋友来说，可能比较熟悉的是孙颖莎啊，这个年龄的运动员。那么现在体育跟商业还有文化的这个边界，它已经日益的模糊。那么青年呢，也不仅仅只是观众，也是那个所谓的 contemporary 的creator， 所以还有就是消费群体。那么追星给这个偶像加油打气这个以至于中国大陆社会呢也出现一个比较独特的，比如说所谓的饭圈文化，这些都已经是显示已经是我们现在这个体育文化的一部分。那么在这样一种不断变化的格局当中那么我们的现在的运动员他们要如何在坚守自我坚持，还有在平衡这个商业利益这方面呢，他们去怎么取得一个平衡点？那么我们今天非常荣幸的邀请到4位在体育品牌还有这个教育以及武术文化等领域都拥有非常卓越成就和这个深刻洞察力的嘉宾。他们分别在新加坡跟上海共同来为我们解码这个复杂而引人入胜的这个课题首先我先介绍一下在新加坡会场的2位嘉宾Please allow me to introduce our 2 panelists in Singapore. First of all, Miss Sharon Ng. She's a professional athlete, Singapore national bowler, and chairperson of the Singapore National Olympic Council Athletes Commissions. Sharon will share her first-hand experience as a current athlete, discussing how to balance personal development with commercial values during a competitive career, and how to advocate for the rights of athletes. 那么翁清海先生呢，他曾经是我们新加坡国家武术队的金牌选手，也是本地著名的影视演员那么目前他是新加坡舞坊创办人和新加坡综合武道协会会长。那么他将以他独特的这个跨界的经历分享从这个武术赛场到这个演艺舞台，再到推广这个武术文化，如何塑造个人品牌并利用自己的影响力来推动这个体育和文化发展。好，欢迎2位 ，Welcome。
大家下午好，我是翁清海。
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shayna. Thank you for having me here.
那么现在我们有请这个永兴为我们介绍在上海的2位嘉宾Over to you, Jenny.
好的，谢谢 Dr. Lee， 谢谢李博士，欢迎大家莅临我们的这个上海国际这个新加坡子女学校。我们今天的这个 panel， 在我旁边的是2位非常重磅的嘉宾。I'll introduce our 2 panelists live in Shanghai together with me. Beside me is Mr. Tony Rampton. Now he is a former Olympian and he is current principal of the junior school at this current location that we're in. So always say hi to Mr. Rampton when you see him in the corridor. He is an Olympian turned educator. He was a professional basketball player as a member of the New Zealand Tall Blacks. and his height certainly shows that. He competed on the world stage, in 2000 Sydney Olympics, as well as the 2004 Athens Olympics, in the end winning a silver medal at the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne. So, because now he's retired as a veteran athlete, combined with his role as a principal and educator, we'll discuss about sporting spirit, how young people can inherit that, and how youths can develop themselves through sports. And we have a business from the business world, a very heavyweight, Mr. Lim Ek Leong, 我们的林义良先生。他今天除了是代表阿迪达斯他虽然是在阿迪达斯在职，但是今天呢，他所说的所有的这个评论和论言都是以他个人在中国经历过很多不同的这个体育品牌的这个工作经验的个人的一个视角呈现给大家啊。So Mr. Lim Ek Leong today he'll be speaking less as a senior executive from a leading sports brand, but more from his personal point of view, from his working experiences in various brands. He has extensive experience. Nike, Converse, Burton, snowboards, and it was now Adidas. He needs to get a paycheck, right? And now he will provide valuable insights into brand strategy, market understanding, and how to connect with consumers through sports. So we have real athletes, former athletes, people who pay for the athletes, people who idolize athletes, everybody in one room. 好 ，Gentlemen, welcome. 来，我们听到此处应该有掌声。然后 Dr. Lee 我也替我们的观众提问一下，就是我们的网上的朋友还有在场的朋友可以用手机的一个浏览器，就是导入我们这个 pigeonhole.at， 跟上次我们这个 AI panel 一样，可以留下在大家讨论的时候随时随地留下您的这个问题哦。然后你进去 pigeonhole.at 这个网站之后呢，你的 passcode 是 BCYF 大写2025 BCYF 大写2025. So please submit your questions anytime. We will select the most interesting ones to ask our guest. So over to you, back to you, Dr. 李博士，交给你。
好，我们看到那个优秀的运动员呢，他们不仅是赛场上的英雄，那么更是自己自带流量的这个和有影响力的公众人物啊。那么他们的商业价值日益凸显。如今这个运动员已经不再是凭赛场上的这个表现或者他们的成就被观众所评判，他们在场外的表现呢，同样也是受到这个重视啊。那么，比如说作为一个社媒人物啊，作为一个品牌的大使，还有生活方式的这个内容的一个创作者，那么运动员的这个商业价值与他们个人的偶像形象呢，会受到这个受众还有他们跟受众audience 的那个互动呢，以及这个曝光数字上的一个曝光呢，有密切的相关哈。所以我这边的一个问题questions to Senna, as a current national athlete, how do you balance shaping your public image, engaging in commercial endorsement, and ensuring this activity do not impact your competitive performance and sporting spirits amidst your demanding training and competition schedule? And what factor do you prioritize when choosing brand partnerships?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Okay, that's a lot of questions, but let's go through it one by one. Sure. So I think that first and foremost, it is very important to prioritize what's important for me. Of course, with brand endorsements and everything, it is important, but they all stem from my own personal performance. So I first have to get that right, and I need to prioritize training, prioritize my competitions, because without them, I'm never going to get the said endorsements that I want. So I think for me, it's good to prioritize first, my training, my gym sessions, my keeping up with my physiotherapist and, just going for competitions and doing well. And I think in this day and age, endorsements are very important. They are essential. And how I really choose my endorsements, I mean, there isn't I don't have a lot of endorsements as much as I want to, but I think the main key is that myself as an athlete, together with the brand that I'm working with, we have to be able to benefit one another. Like me as an athlete, I need to be able to benefit the brand, and the brand must in turn also be able to help me. And so most of my endorsements are surrounding like bowling balls companies and manufacturers and things like that who actually pay me to, be throwing their bowling balls. And yeah, but that being said, I also like to highlight maybe one special part about being an athlete in Singapore. Being an athlete in Singapore, we actually have this thing called the SPEC scholarship. It's spelled as SPEX. SP stands for sports and EX stands for excellence. So together it's called the SPEC scholarship. And myself, I am a SPEC scholar. So what a SPEC scholarship entails is actually to give us substantial funding that gives us like a monthly stipend, to make sure that we are financially stable. And then also they cover like our competition fees, our travel fees, our accommodation, and everything that I need as a sportsman, I have it covered under the SPEC scholarship. And to me, this is the most important thing to ensure that my longevity as an athlete, is there. And in order to maintain this SPEC scholarship, they peg it to like a carding system. So then, therefore, back to my point again, I have to be performing. So if I am performing, I will secure my SPEC scholarship, and this will in turn allow me to compete for a long period of time. So yeah, just some fun fact, I've been competing for Singapore for the past 20 years. Yeah, 20 years now. So, and it wouldn't have been possible without this SPEC scholarship.
Yeah, interesting. Because we are in Singapore and in Shanghai session, I hope to grab the chance to ask a follow-up question to Shayna. We obviously really admire how you've come through so far. And if you look nowadays on social media, there is a whole lot of people calling themselves athletes as well, or maybe more accurately, athlete influencers. 就中文的话，可能就是运动网红这样子一个兴起。那就是我的问题是 my question is, will these some new group of athlete influencers affect how you see yourself, affect how is the definition of what it means to be a professional athlete? Shayna?
Thank you for your question. I think at the start, I was doodling around with this idea of, starting to post my bowling stuff and I think, having a social media presence definitely helps because, you want to create a fan base of your own. And yeah, so, through like trial and error, I find that, for instance, when I post videos of my bowling or like when there's a new bowling ball in the market and I post a reel of it, all this tend to get more views than if I post a non-bowling stuff. So I know for a fact that, like my audiences are all like people in the bowling industry, and they can be from all over the world. And also now, with Instagram and Facebook, they have very good insights for you. So you can actually track, like, where your followers are from. Are they mainly from Singapore or from the US and things like that? And, they even share, like, the age group, and they even share, what time is the best time to post, for instance. So I think all these kind of things, over time, we try to learn. But yeah, so I think that, with sponsorships and with endorsements, of course, that is my obligation to give back to them. And I feel like, that's one of the many ways that I can help them. However, I have a rule for myself, like when I bowl, when I'm in competition, I try not to be posting so much. because all these are like external noises, and I don't want them to end up, people are big on comments now. They can be commenting, some comments can benefit you, but some comments can actually be quite negative as well. So during competition time, usually I just switch off, like I try not to touch my social media. I can come on it afterwards, to give everyone, to share with everyone how I did or what were the highlights, but other than that, when I'm in competition, I try to stay out of it. Like that is my rule for myself, yeah.
Okay, before I proceed to ask questions to Vincent, it's good that we have first questions from the floor. It's for Senna. Do you ever consider endorsement based on your personal value as well? Or is it just both benefits? If yes, what type of values do you seek in the company?
It's from me? Yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, of course, it's like more of a case-by-case basis when a brand approaches me, or especially when I approach a brand, it has to be something that I feel our values are aligned. And I think in this day and age, it kind of surrounds around inclusivity and things like that. And I feel like, with all these brands that are more inclusive in this society are the brands that I like to work with. And also I try to see whether there are any local brands. Because if they are local and they are from Singapore, we support local, right? And then so if the brands are local brands, why not? Like I would do that. So these are some of the little things that I look out for. But I think bigger picture is whether I can help them. Because if it's a company that I'm not sure how my presence can help them, then because at the end of the day, it has to be a partnership. We have to both benefit one another. So yeah.
OK， 青海兄，从这个武术赛场到演艺舞台啊，再到这个武术文化的推广啊，那么您在不同的阶段是如何塑造和管理你个人的这个品牌？还有就是你的这个武术的背景啊，给您带来哪些的独特的优势？还有就是您在这个商业的合作当中，如何坚守这个作为一个武术运动员和体育人的这个初心和这个原则？或者我
一口气好像好多问题啊，我尽量好不好
？OK， 没问题，没问题。
OK， 首先我觉得我在品牌方面应该是我的真实性吧。我并不是一个营销所制造出来的一个产物。我之前是个运动员，新加坡人刚开始认识我的时候都是在那个体育新闻上，所以之前这个形象已经就是国家体育运动员的那个形象已经塑造在那边。然后当运动员的时候，我觉得是代表卓越吧，代表国家的一个荣誉。然后之后我加入了电视台当演员，我觉得这个是让我将武术转变成故事的一个平台。然后从故事呢，我可能可以让那些可能连那个拳台上都不可能上的人接触到那种感觉，还有从中吸取到这个灵感。然后现在呢，我自己也创办了我的武术学校，叫新加坡武坊，至今已经超过20年了，整整20年。然后这一个呢，是我致力于传承的工作吧，传承这个武术文化，将这个武术发扬光大的一个平台。还有什么问题？
就是
记忆力不是很强。
对，就是说在这个如果有商业的合作啊，那么您如何坚守作为一个武术运动员和体育人的那个初心和原则？
我其实武术本身是一个，你们也知道是一个中国传统体育项目。其实一直以来我觉得武术不单单只是一个 比赛项目，更重要的是那个价值观啊。然后比如说我们武术所说的武德，包括很多尊师重道、屈强扶弱啊。然后体育方面，我们也学习到坚韧谦逊，然后呢脚踏实地，然后通过这样的理念，不管是在我其他工作方面就是演艺圈，或者说在商业上所接触的，我都会把持着这种理念，去把我的工作做好，然后脚踏实地的面对它。就算有再大的机遇呢，我都会思考，觉得这份工作符合我的价值观吗？如果是不符合的话，我绝对不做。这就是我从事这个初心的一个做法吧。
好，谢谢。Now I have questions for Mr. Tony Rampton. As a former New Zealand Olympians, you have played at a very pretty high level. What difference do you perceive in the opportunity and challenges professional athletes face on the path of commercializations between your era and today's?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to it. When I retired 15 years ago, now I show my age, we didn't have social media, we had newspapers. So athletes would, get opportunity to read about themselves in the newspaper. That had its advantages and disadvantages, right? The advantages was you didn't get to see all the armchair athletes comment and put you down or criticize your performance. But the disadvantages to that athletes have today is creating that social media profile. It's a lot easier for them to be able to promote themselves to their fan base, to commercialization, to companies, which they have that opportunity to reach a broader, wider audience. I think that's a huge challenge. As Shauna talked about, athletes that can get away from social media during competition, I think is very important, because there's a lot of negativity that comes. Not everybody likes every single athlete. Regardless of how good you are and how high you are in your sport, there's always people that bring negativity or bring you down. So I think it is difficult nowadays for athletes in that sense. In society, we talk about mental health. Now, that is a huge part of professional athletes today, dealing with that, whereas previously, I think in my era, we didn't have that external pressure from fans in a digital world. We had it from a face-to-face sense. People would come and they would say to you, hey, you didn't play very well, or you shouldn't be on the team, which is a lot harder to do than sit behind a computer or behind a phone and write criticism or negativity. So I think when we look at the athletes of today, they deal with a lot more than previously.
Yeah, it is maybe like 10 times tougher with the scourge of social media, isn't it, Tony? Any advice apart from staying away from social media during competition? Should you maybe copy the entertainment artists, have a manager of your socials? Something like that. What kind of advice would you give to young athletes who are not used to sort of balancing this high profile and having a social media life and an athlete life at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I would, promote or encourage them to do is use social media as a promotion, not as a way of trying to get affirmation. Right? Like not a way of, I need to look to see what someone commented because I did well in my sport. But use it as a way to create a broader fan base than trying to get affirmation or positive reinforcement from fans about how you played. Because if you do that, you run that risk of taking that negativity and really internalizing it. Now, if you look at the really high athletes, they don't bother about that. That negativity is like that old saying, water off a duck's back, right? They read it and it's gone. Whereas other athletes internalize it, they take it on board, and that sometimes can affect their performance. So my advice would be, if you do read these things, remember these are people that haven't gone through what you've gone through as an athlete. They haven't walked in your shoes. So a lot of times they're only giving their opinion on what they see, and a lot of times that's not an expert opinion. So I think the other thing is, as an athlete, listen to your coaches, listen to those people that support you, listen to those people that are around you, because those are the people that matter when you compete at that high level.
You can see Tony really speaking from past experience now. Does it matter if it's are people in individual sports more vulnerable? For example, Shayna, individual bowling, and Vincent as an individual martial artist, are they more vulnerable than athletes in team sports like football and basketball?
I think in a team sport you can hide because you have your teammates. You win and lose as a team, and it's probably a little bit easier. Whereas an individual sport, it's you. You're the individual. You win and you lose. You don't have anyone to share that with apart from your team that helps support you. So I would say, from my personal own opinion, it would be more difficult. I admire single athletes or athletes that compete by themselves, because from past experience of always playing a team sport at a high level, you had your teammates where you could count on when you lose, or when you had a win, you would celebrate together. But as an individual, you have yourself, and sometimes that's definitely difficult when you do lose, because you I know a lot of, it's just human nature, you internalize, what could I do better? But as a team, you're able to look at things as a team, and collectively, you have the opportunity to try and perform at a high level.
I'm just wondering, from athlete to athlete, do you have anything to express to our Singapore?
Yeah, I mean, 20 years in any sport is amazing. So I just think, I guess my question would be, in that 20 years, how have you seen social media change, or how has social media changed your profile and your marketability to be able to gain or add to your commercial brand?
应该这是Tony 先生想对翁听海先生提出一个问题，就是说您在这个体育界已经20年的这个时间，观察到就20年前的这种社交媒体的环境跟现在有什么不一样，然后同时怎么样去影响你身为一个体育家、一个武术运动员的一个光环。
这个问题是，你是说那个20年的还在体育界的是谁的？
在你在20年前，
这20年前我做的是这个我自己的武术学校，就一直在做这个传承的工作。然后当然如果你说这20年确实这个。你说社交媒体的转化真的是
对社交媒体的转变对你的这种武术生涯有什么改变？
其实不止在我的武术生涯跟这个演艺生涯也是，因为我觉得整个演艺界的那个生态在改变。然后因为在新加坡早期，大家就是我当演员那在新传媒那段时间呢。大家都是晚上回去追这个7点跟9点的电视剧，然后我觉得今日就不同了，今日有这个手机，有这个 IG， 有这个 Facebook， 有这个 TikTok， 谁都可以发 content， 所以我觉得现在current market creativity 是很重要的，你的 content creation， 你的创意能力是很重要的。然后创意能力的那个品味也非常的重要。 你可以不断的发东西，不过如果是说很没有品味的话，也会是一个反弹啊，一个反效果。说确实是现在不管是体育界、媒体界这个曝光的高度，你做的东西必须让人家知道，不然你的才华再好，只有你自己知道，还是必须的啊。
Okay. Before I proceed the questions for Mr. Lim Ek Leong, there's one question for both Shanna and Vincent. How did representing Singapore at the national level shape your personal identity beyond being an athlete?
Okay, so I feel that, you know, when I first got into bowling, it was because I just enjoyed the sport. And I didn't think too much about where in life bowling would take me. I was just very in the moment, just enjoying. I just enjoy the sound of it when the ball hits the pins and when it strikes. So I was just, you know, I was just bowling and, you know, one thing led to another. I made it to the national youth team. I made it to the national team. And before I know it, like I was wearing the Singapore jersey and competing, representing Singapore at, you know, SEA Games, Asian Games, World Championships. And, you know, one fine day it hit me that like, oh, you know, like right now I'm not just representing myself, but I'm also representing my country. And, you know, I think that a lot of athletes, the thing that we have to be very mindful of is how we brand ourselves outside of the sporting arena. I feel that, you know, a lot of us, you know, back in the days, I always thought that, okay, I'm just coming here to compete, and once I'm done, I can be back to who I am. But the problem is, people see me as a national athlete, you know, and that is something that will always be embedded in me. So I feel like, you know, over time, I feel like I have to carry myself well, and, you know, people see me as, whether or not I see myself as one, people will always see me as a national athlete representing the country. So I feel that with that, you know, we have to carry ourselves right, even outside of the sporting arena. Now, that being said, also, I think that with athletes, I think we have to pride ourselves as people who have lots of integrity, lots of grit. You know, we can fall down 10 times and stand up the 11th time. And I think that all these are life skills that I've learned over my career. And, you know, yes, I think a lot of people have all this, you know, life skills as well. But, you know, when you compete in the sporting world, unfortunately, you know, the thing that I learned the most is that we have to be very okay with losing and be very okay to come back stronger and to say that, you know, I'm not going to fall down now, I'm going to stand up again. Because, yes, like in the newspapers and everything, people look at, you know, things that get featured is every time when I win. You know, when I win, we get featured in the papers. But those times that I win are just maybe like 10 to 15% of the competitions that I go for. Like, people don't see the times that, like 9 out of 10 times maybe I lose, but people don't see it, you know? And the one time I win, I get featured in the papers. So people's expectations is that we're always winning, but in reality, we are not. And I think it is, you know, how we tell ourselves that it is okay and we want to come back even stronger. I think that is the kind of willpower that a lot of athletes have. And I think we should pride ourselves as that, and this can be translated into anything else that I do in my future career, even after I'm done with my sporting career.
请阿兄要补充一下吗？就是说，在代表国家比赛的话，对您本身的性格的塑造有没有一些方面的影响？
其实我刚刚听他说的，让我勾起了很多回忆，因为他所说的跟我也经历大概一样的一些过程，从小就对体育很有兴趣，刚开始是个田径运动员，后来就被一个田径队的一个师兄发现到，觉得说，哎，你弹跳力很好，你可以去尝试练武术，然后进到武术场上 的时候，哇，我就看到那些跳跃、翻滚的动作，就深深的吸引我。当时也很喜欢看功夫片李连杰的功夫片，然后就迷上了武术甚至在学校课堂里面都每天想着武术，整个课本都画着一大堆武术的那些漫画啦，或者动作。然后后来就第一次比赛就进了国家队那年我是13岁，然后15岁就开始代表新加坡，然后整个环境呢我是个新运动员嘛，才13到15岁，每个环境都很新鲜，然后代表国家出赛也觉得很好玩，然后训练也非常的积极，然后也很 look forward 每个 training session， 然后后来就在17岁的时候，我就拿了新加坡第一次拿了我的东南亚运动会的金牌，后来也在世界武术锦标赛拿了新加坡首面的世界武术的冠军。当然那段时间国家也开始受重视，就报章啦杂志啦这些都会来访问你。然后开始那段时间开始就没有像童年的时候，说年轻的时候这么好玩了，就感觉有一点压力了，因为就感觉到大家对你有期望说我可以说整个体育整个比赛的生涯是我人生当中就是体育生涯是我不会忘记的，因为我尝试到很多酸甜苦辣，也从中结识了很多朋友，然后它整个过程也让我成长，也因为我这些训练比赛在国外的那些经历塑造了今天的我，所以我觉得很感恩很感激所有曾经帮助过我的人，包括家人因为在包括家人跟我们的总会和我所有的教练，因为在新加坡呢你要培养一个运动员，没有个人的英雄，必须群体的力量，因为我们这里的制度不一样，然后我非常感激我有所有的恩人，让我有机会在国际比赛场上得到成绩，然后也塑造了今天的我，谢谢。
好，谢谢。Now, sorry for wait, Leong, sorry for you to waiting. Here comes the question. From a brand's perspective, beyond athletes' achievement, what other factors does Adidas consider when selecting and nurturing athletes endorse?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I think, not just Adidas, but like brands in general, when we look at athletes to sponsor or to endorse, obviously their achievement, their winning is important, but that's not the only thing because, there's only one champion every time, right? So we also look at other factors like their potential, the popularity among the fans or the communities, their mentality as well, their persona and personality. I think all these are very important, as well as the values that they portray, whether it fits the brand or not. Because I think like all the other three panelists had mentioned just now, if the brands and the athletes' own values doesn't match, even when they work together, it's kind of it's not a good chemistry. And I think today our consumers, the audiences are very smart, mature, and they are very well connected socially in the media, social media, so they can really call it out. So I think all these are very important factors for the brands when they consider who to sign, who to endorse their brands.
Well, thank you. Well, obviously not. We actually hear very touching stories from Vincent and Shayna about how out of 10 competitions, they win once, and all the limelight is on that one time. So obviously, the focus on championship, it's really a very healthy way. Not focusing on only champions is a healthy way for brands to do it. So you mentioned sportsmanship and charisma and personality, and even if they don't win, you know, they show other values like resilience and everything. I'm just going to ask from a business point of view, what are the realistic sort of ROI evaluations? You know, a fan base can be, say the size of the fan base can be quantified. If you want to choose a athlete based on their size of the fan base, yes, it can be quantified. How about the others? How can you quantify the credibility they bring to your brand, or the wider spectrum of audiences you can reach to the athlete, or charisma? How do you actually quantify that into business ROI? Yeah, just preparing our students for the future business world here.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting question, right? I think the reality is it's sports, but for brands, it's also kind of business. So there are certain KPIs, ROIs for the brands to consider. And I think one of the more important things is also like, what does this brand stands for from a DNA perspective or from a business strategy perspective? Is it a certain sports like running, basketball, or maybe football? And then you prioritize your marketing spend or your sponsorship spend based on that. And then because obviously there are popular sports with broader audiences, and then there are more credible sports that maybe the audiences are not as many, but it's a niche sport. Certain brands wants to go in and be the first owner of that. So there are many considerations. I think other considerations also obviously includes the athletes following on their social media, you know, and then there's also different form of sponsorship, because not everything is about paying the athlete money and stuff. Like, there is also the most simplest way is we just give them product. We support them, you know, so that they can use the product, let the product help them perform their best. So yeah, I think there's many ROI consideration which I've mentioned above. There's also many sponsorship and endorsement methods that the brands can do.
OK， 谢谢这个嘉宾们，这从这个运动员和品牌的角度来分享啊。那么接下来我们把目光转向这个体育文化当中一个很重要的一股力量，就是青年啊，还有青年跟这个粉丝文化啊。As usual, the first question also for Shanna. Sorry, what's my question? Okay. As an athletes. What unique roles do you believe the sport? Oh no, sorry, my questions run.
到这里我来问吧。
OK， 好，我就找到。
好的，就question to Shana, Vincent， 两位都欢迎回答。就是 as a public figure, how do you view fan culture? Do you ever feel pressured by the fans' enthusiasm? And then how do you maybe channel this enthusiasm into some positive motivation？ 就其实粉丝文化是有负面也有正面的，所以您本人有没有感受到粉丝的热情有时候会带来一些压力？然后怎么样把这种压力跟热情转化为积极的动力，然后跟粉丝建立比较健康的一个关系？要不翁清海先回答？
我觉得这一个，如果说不管是赛场上或者影视圈上，这个粉丝本来就是这个整个环境的一部分。如果你拍了一部戏没人看，那你拍来看吧，那肯定有。然后我会把这些对我来讲，粉丝或者支持我的朋友，是我在这段旅程上陪伴我一起度过的一个伙伴，我会把他们视为是这样。然后呢，我觉得当然有时候太过热情的粉丝会让你不知所措，这个是会的。说可能要划清一些良好的界限吧。 然后如果是说你把这些粉丝啊带进上场的话就是赛场的话，或者说在你演艺的工作的他们的看法影响到你，他们所说的东西影响到你的表现的话，那就是负面的。不过对我来讲，粉丝是支持我们的人，是这跟着我们一起成长的。我觉得只要把自己做得最好，就这个是最重要的。因为我发现现在的粉丝是很聪明的，特别如果是说我们是一个，我以一个运动员来说吧，因为我觉得运动员的魅力在于他的真实感，就是他在场上的那种集中，训练场上或者比赛场上的集中那种奔波那种努力，那个是最有魅力的。所以我觉得如果是我现在我如果还在比赛，我是运动员，我会怎么做呢？我会把我在比赛场，或者说不只是在我胜利的那个阶段给大家分享，我也会在可能社交媒体上分享我碰到的一些挑战，然后那个你的粉丝就会觉得他就更了解你，他更感受得到你，那个才是最有价值的粉丝，才会是最长久的。所以我觉得应该把这个粉丝文化转为正面的那就对你所做的东西有帮助。
Yeah, I feel that the question was
How do you think athletes can build healthier, more positive interactions with your fan base? Because some of the fan culture can be very toxic.
I think that I feel personally that I just have to be very honest with myself, and as an athlete, I will compare it like back in the days, like say 10, 15 years ago, as compared to now. Like in the past, I used to feel that I didn't like all this external kind of pressure. Especially, so let me just share a quick story with you guys. In 2012 was when I won my very first world title. So when I won my first world title in 2012, I got a bit lost for a little while because, all my life I've been training as an athlete with one specific goal, which is to become a world champion. And when I have achieved it in 2012, after that I got a bit lost because I'm like, okay, I've achieved my goal. What do I do next? So then I kind of, and I could tell the difference in people's expectations on me before and after I win my first world title. Because prior to winning the first world title, when I come in like second or third in any competition, people would come up to me and say like, well done, you did great. But post the world title, when I finish second or third, it can be the same position, but when I finish second or third, post my first world title, people will come up to me and say like, what happened? So it's like the same, it can be the same position, but the change in people's expectations are very prominent to me. So therefore, I realized that, okay, there are all these external people having expectations on me, and, I started letting all these things affect me because, I've just trained all my life to just achieve that one thing, to become a world champion. But I didn't think of what's to come next. And then I think it took a while, and then I had to speak to my psychologist. I had to go through all this therapy session to just just figure out what I want and figure out that, okay, at the end of the day, I am bowling for myself. I'm not bowling for all these people out there. And I think over time, one thing that the psychologist taught me that I thought was very impactful was that pressure, you have to see it as a good thing, You are feeling pressure because it means something to you. And I see it, like today, I see it positively. Back in the days, I used to see it negatively. I'm like, oh, I don't like to feel pressure, gets nervous. And especially in a sport like bowling, where the more hyped you get, the worse it gets, actually, because you want to be as calm as possible. You know, it's a precision sport. You want your heart rate and you want your composure to be as calm as possible. So anything that makes me nervous and so on and so forth is not good for me. Yeah, but today, I mean, I've learned over the years to enjoy the pressure, because pressure means it means something to me. And of course, winning means something to me, and I enjoy that. So I've learned to embrace it. I've learned to, you know, see it in a different way. And I think that has helped me throughout the years. Yeah.
Okay, here's another question from the floor. It's for Shanna. Do you post on social media, and do you interact with your fans?
Yes, I post on social media. I feel that, you know, social media is like what Tony said just now, to use it as a profession, to promote, as a platform to promote, not to get affirmation. And I also, on top of that, I also see it as a platform to educate, right? So, you know, I would post like, you know, people who followed me on my journey, I think the good and the bad, like, it's okay. As long as I'm okay, I'm honest with myself. Not every athlete is always winning at all times, you know. So there are some times where, you know, we don't perform as well, and that's extremely normal. And it's okay to put it out there, because, you know, we can't always be at our best. And it's okay to share the challenges. It's okay to share the struggles. And so I feel like this can be like a platform that can be educational to people as well. And on top of that, yes, I interact with some of my followers, but I choose them quite wisely. I mean, if I feel like I can value add to their question, then yes. And also, like I said, it depends on when you guys reach out to me. If people are reaching out to me when I'm in the midst of a competition, then obviously not. But in my free time and everything, I would interact with them. Yeah.
Okay. OK, because of the time limits， 我们现在就开始另外一个环节啊，就是关于这个品牌、社会公益与这个体育精神啊。So questions for Shanna. What successful practices? No, sorry, it's for Leong. What successful practices has Adidas implemented in promoting sports for social good? Particularly on mass fitness and supporting youth sports development?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because this weekend, Adidas is actually partnering and contributing to the first ever Shanghai Sports Festival. So it is part of an initiative by the city to promote mass participation in sports, promote a healthy lifestyle for the citizens. You know, so I think these are the things that the brand is doing to help contribute to the city's effort, the nation's effort in making also Shanghai a well-renowned sports city globally. And then within the brand, you know, we have done different initiatives as well, including this Young Phoenix program. And so we kind of selected about 25 young girls from the western part of China, a bit underprivileged, but sending them to Germany, working with our partner football club, Bayern Munich FC, to provide them access to elite training coaches, facilities, and experience that gives them a broader perspective. So yeah, there's many other initiatives, but I think these are some of the stuff that the brand has done on its part to help push sports in the nation.
Yeah. Tony, please.
Can I just add on that? And I know I want to go back to the panel that was before, and Mr. Tan talked about our youth of today is on their phones constantly. I think sport and sporting brands play a huge part in that. As an educator, as a former athlete, as also a father, I think it's very important to get our young involved in sports, regardless of what sport it is. I think every sport is valuable, and I know, and you know, as educators, PE is a huge part of getting kids active and involved, you know, running, cycling, basketball, bowling, martial arts, football, swimming. The list goes on, and I think getting them off screens or lessening the time on screens and getting them active is a huge responsibility for us as adults and as we grow.
Obviously, schools, you know, obviously through their curriculum and their programs can, and the brands can, you know, obviously organize events and all that. But if we sort of bring it back to our topic today, a lot of athletes are, say the Olympics, they accept athletes as young as 13 years old, right? For skateboarding or judo or diving. How ethical is it for sort of brands to get involved at this young age? Maybe I'll have both of you answer. How do you draw the line between over hyper-commercialization, but then still encouraging very young athletes like 13, 14 years old to pursue sports?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, Jenny. You know, some sports are more suited for younger athletes. And that, I guess, comes down to countries, parents, and yeah, from a parent perspective, you know, I want my child to always be happy, and if they want to compete, I think for me that, like, sometimes, and we talked a little bit about this before, a lot of people focus on the outcome and not the process. Right? Like, if you're focusing on the process, does that process of getting that 13-year-old to an Olympics hinder the rest of their life, or put extensive pressure or more, I want to say, talk on their body as they grow? Because as a 13-year-old athlete, you're not fully developed. So I think that's where the ethical part of that is. Now, from a branding perspective, I can't comment on that. I can only just comment on, you know, and I know that regardless of the age of the athletes, different athletes sell merchandise to different community, well, not communities, but to different clientele. Yeah.
I think from brands' perspective, you know, what we try and do is to support the athlete because, you know, regardless of their age, right? Like they need the best product to help them perform at their best in whatever sports they're doing. So, you know, I think working with them to make sure that they have the right product, the right gear, because I know, you know, if you're, I mean, I play a little bit of sports, obviously not as high level as you know, all these other panelists, but when you wear product that makes you feel good, you perform better. It's a mental aspect as well. So I think that's what the brands can try and do to support the athlete, regardless of age.
Back to you, Dr. Lee.
Okay, there's questions in Chinese talking about sports commercializations from the beginning, whether is it inevitable process or it was caused by other social factors. It's open for all the guests, panelists to answer. Yeah.
I'll repeat in Chinese. 就是体育商业化的这个体育的商业化是不是一个必然的过程，还是因为其他的社会因素而导致的 ？The commercialization of sport, is it sort of a natural process or because of other factors pushing it? It's a very broad academic question.
Yeah, it's very broad for sure, but maybe I'll just share a personal point of view. I think, yeah, the commercialization of sports, I feel like it depends on how you look at it. It can be a good thing as well because it allows a broader exposure of the sports, of the athlete, that also helps them, you know, maybe gain more following, gain the attention of endorsers and brands, endorsement and brands that can also then help in their development in the future. So, I mean, like Vincent was saying just now, what's the, like, 你如果拍戏没人看, what's the point, right? So if you're competing, if you're training so hard for the highest level and there's no spectators, then it's
you
kind
can't
of
fund yourself.
yeah. So I think it depends on how we look at it. I think it could be a good thing as well.
I think it was just going to be a natural process. So if you look history, obviously the Olympic Games were the pinnacle for athletes back then, and it's evolved. More sports got involved, and obviously that commercialization, branding, wearing the best products to make those athletes be able to compete at the highest level. I think it just evolved and was a process of going to be that way. Now with media and with digitalization, that's taken it to that next level where athletes can promote themselves more. And I'm pretty sure everyone that walks into a store, regardless if it's Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, Puma, New Balance, they will see and they will look at associating some of those products with an athlete, or they just like the color or the design or the feel. Most people have a brand that they prefer, and sometimes that athlete does help in promoting that. So for me, I think it's just a natural process of evolution, and it was going to happen, and it will continue to happen, and products will continue to develop and grow.
Yeah, I think it's a healthy triangle, right? Because sport provides the spectacle, then media provides the publicity, and brands provide the funding or through product, through money, and etc. Dr. Lee, over to you at Singapore.
非常感谢各位嘉宾的那个真知灼见啊。那么因为这个现在时间不多了，所以让我们一起来这个展望未来哈。思考一下这个体育文化将如何发展，以及我们的青年人哈可以去参与其中啊，或者是应该怎么样去参与其中啊。So this question is about looking future and consider how sports culture will evolve and how we as young people can be part of its shaping. So we start with Shanna.
Yeah. I think with the help of technology, I mean, I've been bowling for over 23, 24 years now. So I can see the difference I can only speak for my sport. So, I have seen bowling when it was 25 years ago versus today. And I think that with the help of technology, a lot has advanced. And, now we have the tracking technology whereby, if we throw a ball on the lane, the technology can instantly give us feedback on where our ball path is and everything. And similarly, I think we can see this with many other sports, like, with football, with tennis and things like that. So I think as a whole, with technology, with AI, it's just going to be more and more evolved. Similarly also, back in the days, there's only a handful of bowling balls to pick from. But today, with technology, there are so many more bowling balls. And, back in the days, it was so hard to hit a perfect game. Perfect game is kind of like the hole-in-one in our sport, where you have all strikes in one game, so 12 consecutive strikes. But today is every tournament, there's a perfect game. And so I think that, with the help of technology, even the equipment today that we use are evolving as well. And but I think that being said, no matter how much technology plays a role in the sporting industry, as much as it will help your performance. It will help to boost your performance a little bit more. But I think bottom line is, to me, I believe that we still need, as athletes, we still need to put in the hard work. We still need to train. We still need to be 100% committed. And without that, no amount of technology can help you. So I feel that it still boils down to your own commitment.
I think you already answers a question from Nicholas Chu, how the artificial intelligence has helped in the sports sector. OK， 青海。
你问题是什么？
谈到那个未来的那个体育的发展啊，那么青年可以如何更好？因为现在变化很大嘛，有商业的，有那个科技啊各方面，所以青年应该怎么样去参与，更好的去参与这个体育？
更好的参与体育是吧？
对。
其实不管在刚才他所说的科技。即使没有 AI 没有科技，这个 fitness 也好，就健身方面、体育方面，都一直在创新，也一直在创新纪录，也一直在 evolve， 因为每5年，可能每3到5年又有一种新的训练方式。所以我觉得如果说科技或者 AI，其实它帮助在多层面上可以帮助体育的performance 的那个提升，不管是在商业上，或者在运动员的表现上，或者甚至裁判工作上，它肯定会起着新的帮助。然后这个帮助的尺度有多大这个我们未来就会知道。然后当然如果您是说这个年轻人怎么参与？首先我觉得很多东西很多。
现在年轻人都在看手机啊，
对，
花的时间在手机的时间很长。
OK， 我本身就搞了一个武术学校，大部分都是70%是小学生。我一直也不单训练学生，也经常有跟我的学生家长们有交谈。因为你说的没错，现在的孩子都在手机上，不然就是在冷气房里，然后真的没有什么大的机会去可能 taste 到他的汗水原来是咸的。所以我是希望我自己本身希望说多一点小朋友他们来从事这个体育。对我来说体育也好，武术也好，其实并不完全是为了比赛的成绩，你拿什么牌。更重要的是，我开办这个学校是希望说将武术或体育的那种韧性，就是那种坚持，那种正能量，那种正直的那个理念，通过武术的价值观来培养我们下一代，让他们具备了这份力量跟这份对的价值观面对未来生活上的挑战。这也是我做学校的原因。然后我觉得这个对公益效果才起的真正的作用，因为我觉得这个是未来。因为我永远就是说我 involve， 就是说我参与这些慈善工作也好，我永远都是坚守2个，一个是老人家，因为饮水思源，然后年轻一代的小孩，他们是我们的未来。所以这一方面是我从事这个东西的时候，是因为我在 contribute to 未来，就这么简单。
谢谢。Tony, would you like to add in?
Sorry, what was the question again? Getting
Okay.
youth involved.
Maybe I rephrase my questions. In your opinions, what will be the most significant changes and development trends in sports culture over the next decade?
Oh, the future, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with Vincent. I think it's trying to make sure that the youth have an opportunity to fail. And I say that in a positive sense. Sport allows them to be resilient, allows them to bounce back. Like Shana said, you fall down 10 times and you get back up. Sometimes I think in our society, we create an environment where students don't get the opportunity to do that. So my advice to the youth of today is to push yourself and make sure that everything isn't easy. Because to be an athlete and get to the highest level, not just an athlete, business, be successful, there's always going to be difficult situations. And to fight through those difficult situations is what makes people successful in whatever they choose to do. Like what I say to my 2 kids, you don't have to play sport, but choose something you love and you're passionate about and do your best at it. And when they do fall down, don't run over and help them up. Allow them to figure out how they are going to get up or how are they going to navigate to be successful. And when you talk about the future, I think that's a big thing that we need to make sure we do. And talking about sports evolving and talking about our youth is giving the platform where they can actually fail. And it sounds negative, I know, but I think it's what they need, and they need to be able to have something that is hard, because when you achieve something that is hard and you've worked for, that self-belief, that affirmation, that you've done it, you know, you've done it, you've been able to compete, you've been able to fight through, and I think, you know, everyone that does that has an amazing ability to be successful in whatever they want to be.
Yeah, just adding from a brand's perspective, I think one thing, obviously, the youth or the athlete needs to work hard in improving his or her own performance. But I think from a brand perspective as well, brands are always working on the next big innovation to help the athletes, you know, break records, achieve maximum human potential, you know, from the 4-minute mile to the sub 2 hours marathon to the recent, you know, where an Adidas running innovation where we help, you know, break a 6-hour 100-kilometer run. So it was the first human effort to break under 6 hours to run 100 kilometers, you know, within 6 hours. So I think the brands are trying to help by innovating new products to help maximize potential. But at the end of it, I think it still comes down to the athlete themselves, because the products can only help the athlete so much. The athlete needs to train hard, work hard to help themselves.
Okay, thank you, everyone's sharing. Time's really flies, and the time's is no more. I think I have to come to the wrap up 了。我们今天深刻已经认识到啊，这个体育已经不再只是一个孤立的，就是只是竞技比赛，而且已经是一个连接商业文化、社会啊乃至个人身份的一种认同的一个强大的纽带。那么青年的一代呢，现在他们正在站在一个变革的一个前沿哈，他们也会他们是影响者，也是被影响者了哈。所以我们再次感谢啊所有这个嘉宾的精彩分享哈。My sincere thanks to Shanna and Qinghai from the Singapore venue, and to Jenny, Ed Leong and Tony from the Shanghai venue. 我们希望今天的这个讨论呢，能够为大家带来启发，让我们共同的期待并且努力呢，在赛场之外构建一个更加健康、多元以及充满活力的体育文化生态。谢谢各位。